This week in the podcast, I'm speaking to Angela and Paula from Bugeye, all-female group from Croydon, South London. They spoke with great insight about the music industry, as well as touching on their podcast that they did in lockdown and the festival that they run in Croydon called Cro Cro Land, which there is still tickets available for in April, and the band have also got a tour coming up. I'll post links for both of these in the show notes. Please keep listening, sharing and enjoying the podcast. Thanks very much.
I will come in different shapes, a simple thing, a true word spoke, a life untouched, so we both joke, this will come, if you stay.
On the podcast this week, my guests are Angela Martin and Paula Snow. Is that correct?
That's right.
Angela Martin and Paula Snow of Bugeye, a disco punk band from Croydon. Is that correct as well?
That's right, yeah.
So we're going to speak to them about their career and what's coming up in the future. But what I like to do at the start is go back to your childhood and what it was like growing up, where you grew up, and how you first came into music.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up together. So, well, not together as in like since day dot, but we met at secondary school. So kind of around like 11, 12. We grew up in East London.
We did. We grew up in Canning Town. And to be honest, I mean, it's still like quite a poverty-stricken area. So I think it's fair to say we pretty much grew up with nothing in that regard, that we weren't from rich families that were well connected or anything like that.
No, we were, but at the same time, I don't think I ever really recognized that fact until I got older. Like,
no,
at the time, this was the world that I lived in, and it was normal.
But I think that's how you are as kids, isn't it? But I think it's more a case of that music was such an incredible force with that. Mm-hmm. And that it resonates so powerfully with you. And so, you know, in the 90s with the whole Britpop movement, the things like Pulp and them talking about like Common People and Blur and all of this is in, you know, I felt in East London that there was very much a disconnect of not very much support of the arts and not very much support of becoming something. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I've met people that have been to private schools or schools outside of London, and it was all about, you know, you aren't a secretary, you have secretaries. Whereas where I was at school, it was very much like, oh, you know, the careers advice was very much like, oh, what do you want to be? And I spoke about, well, I really like the world of like film and TV and music. And they were like, well, you know, you could work in Tower Records. You know, that was the thing. There was no advice
aspiration
of like being anything other than working in a shop. And to me, I always felt like I wanted more. And certainly most of the people I went to school with, and this is no disrespect to them, but it was very much like, okay, so me and Paula became friends literally through a point of, I was in a school corridor at one point and I was into rock music and I noticed this girl wearing DMs and I just thought, I need to be friends with her because she must be like me because she's wearing DMs.
Which were, to be fair, probably not legitimate DMs.
No, exactly.
Probably
but
like moody market knockoffs.
So that's how we kind of became friends, and it was a love of music. And Paula actually introduced me to a lot of music. I mean, I grew up in my house. My dad was very much into music, not a musician, but listened to a lot of like girl groups from the 60s, like very much Phil Spector,
the Ronettes
stuff,
Crystals.
He loved all of that stuff, Otis Redding, but then he listened to things like Queen and ABBA. So I had
I
like,
feel like he had quite a strong sort of soul streak as well.
he did, yeah, and disco as well. And so I got exposure to a lot of that stuff. But then at school, it was all about E17 and Take That and things that I didn't necessarily connect to.
It was all quite tribal as well, I feel like, wasn't it? And I think that's kind of why we ended up being friends. It was like, okay, we don't fit into this sort of like E17, Take That sort of group. And now, don't take me wrong, I look back at the time, I was like, I hate them. Now I can really appreciate the pop musicalness of it. Like, they're well-written songs.
Yeah, I think
I want to listen to Nirvana.
I think with the course of time, all the kind of boy bands and girl groups of that time, kind of nowadays they kind of stand the test of time. But it wasn't for me either at that point. So,
no, exactly. So it was very much with Paula. So I'd had exposure of all of this kind of old school stuff, which is what I would describe it at that time. And then with Paula, she introduced me to, when we became friends, like fanzines, and her uncle.
Yeah, so I had
talk about your uncle.
I had an uncle who's kind of, there's not too much of an age gap between us, like maybe 10 years, 12 years. And he was a drummer in a band. And once he found out that I was kind of sort of going towards this more, so let's say, alternative kind of scene, like listening to bands like Nirvana, Suede, he completely illegally, but let's leave that by the by, he used to literally just go to HMV and buy blank tapes and tape his record collection for me. Around like the age of like 15, 16, I probably had the best pirate collection of albums going.
Well, it's fantastic. So I was introduced to so many things.
Yeah, so many things that I would never have been aware of, like Husker Du. Like, I'd never have listened to them. That wasn't something that was even on my radar. My Bloody Valentine, like, insane.
Well, exactly. So all of that stuff, and then also, you know, Kinnicky, and then things like even Placebo when they first came out, and they weren't like huge, and so we were listening to this stuff, and it was incredible.
And it was also exploding at that time. Like, do you remember like seeing Placebo on Top of the Pops and just being like, what the hell was that? Like, that is not your normal Top of the Pops kind of experience, let's say. But it's here on a Friday night, prime time TV.
Even when Nirvana were on Top of the Pops, it was just like, and I'd loved Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and bands like that. And it just felt like such an incredible time to be part of music.
Yeah.
And when Pulp sang about, you know, we're coming up from the underground, it suddenly felt like
our time is here.
Our time's here, and we're not misfits, and we're not weird. It is okay to be who we are and like this music. And it was an incredible time to be alive and to suddenly to be young and get into music in that way. And, you know, we formed our first band when we were at college with some friends. I mean, we couldn't play anything, really play at all. But we basically said, we're going to learn to play and be a band.
We booked a gig for 3 weeks' time and then decided we had to have some songs to get together.
So we basically learned to play very quickly, and we were not very good. But I think that's great. I think it's like feeling empowered to just do something, and don't care whether, it's not that we didn't care whether we were good or not, but it was about, at that age, just letting rip and going for it, because what have you got to lose?
And there was no social media, there was no record of what was going to happen. It was just like, pick up a guitar, get on the stage, give it a go. It goes badly, but you've had a great experience.
But I think if you look back at that though as well now, retrospectively, it's probably the best way for you to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
It absolutely is. And I would say that's the rule of life anyway, is that, you know, what I've learned over time is that as you get older, what you're educated in is fair. You might fail. Don't do anything. Don't try that. You might fail. It's like, fuck that. Like, you know, sorry, I don't know if you have something on your podcast.
No, swear away.
But it's very much about, if you never try something, you've already failed. So what's the harm in trying something? and you might discover something about yourself. And so that was something. So from an early age of loving music and then exploring what you can do in music was a great time. And when you're young to do that, and opportunities, people talk about opportunities being few and far between now. They totally were back then. Like, I think it's delusional to think that there were huge opportunities for bands back then. There absolutely weren't. No, and I'm going to talk about this.
But we spent days like schlepping around the likes of like Record, Sony, whatever, handing in like demo tapes or demos,
Paula,
but
even with I think
pointless.
today now there's more opportunities for bands actually. Yes, I do.
Why?
Because no, and this is interesting. You question me on this. I remember back in the day, everything was pay to play. Everything as a new band. You have to guarantee that you're going to bring 50 people at £5 a head, and then after 50 people get £1 a ticket. Where now, yeah, there's fewer venues, and I think that's shit that there's fewer venues. But actually, there's more quality promoters and promoters that understand the ecosystem a little bit more, that they actually have to do their job promoting events and selecting bands and working with them and helping to build their profile. And I think I'm probably fortunate in knowing about those promoters. And I think you have to know a town and know who those good promoters are. But right now, I think it's a case of there's lots of events where a promoter will put a band on. Okay, the band's not going to be paid particularly well as a new band, but they're equally not going to have a huge following. But if that promoter is going to help them build that following, this is a better ecosystem. To a degree. I mean, there are still lots of closures, and the fact that rents are through the roof, and, you know, from someone that not has to run, but has chosen to run a festival, I do feel the repercussions of the economical climate. But I also am going to say that a lot of the promoters have went out of business for a reason. The venues didn't go out of business because of necessarily being bad, but it's kind of been a shake-up for the industry. And I know personally a lot of people that have found new spaces and ways to do things that benefit them, that they cover their costs, but also can pay the bands. And that's not something that I experienced in the 90s, to be honest. So the glory days, I'm going to say the whole glory days that people keep talking about were not glory days. There was so much pay to play, and it's a good thing that bit has been eradicated. I
agree with that, but I also do wonder how much of it is about the kind of circles that you move in and the people that you get to know. And a lot of that is just by like actually going to promoters' shows and not meeting them and chatting to them, just seeing what the vibe is like, because we're in a really fortunate situation right now that we know we work in a sort of an area where we know a lot of people, not a lot of people, but we know promoters, we know people that can help us with promotion of shows. And a lot of them just do it for the love of music, or they'll do it for like a gig ticket or whatever it might be, but it's not like a huge expense. And I don't know if we just didn't have those connections when we were younger. And I wonder how people trying to how a 16-year-old try and break into that.
Yeah, but then
I also feel like the opportunity is there just by showing up and going to a show, and many of them are free. You don't have to pay to get into them, which is a good start.
But I suppose this has always been the thing that and sorry, we're rambling.
Yeah.
No.
Ramblers.
So like, if you're passionate about music, it is about networking. And you can go to any venue.
It's not just about networking, it's about supporting what live music is. And you can't support live music by sitting at home and listening to Spotify.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. It's about networking. It's about going out to venues, discovering who those promoters are and working out what they're about, but also listening to the bands that are there and trying to work collaboratively together, which is what we learned.
Big learning.
Along the way, which is, you know, Bugeye has always not just been about us being a band. We have always had a number of outlets where we help other bands along the way. So with our contacts, we've had a podcast.
I'm going to touch on that later, your podcast.
Yeah, we have a WhatsApp group with other bands where we'll share, like, if it's bad experience, if it's good experience, because a lot of people feel that in a band that it's like, oh God, I need to look really successful and I can't ever like share a bad experience, or if I share a contact, then that's me losing my step ahead. It's like there's room for everyone.
Exactly.
And it's about collaboration. And if you collaborate and share, that's good for everyone.
And like ultimately, we're not all the same, right? So
No.
we're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and we're not going to be. Some people love us, some people might hate us, but the people that hate us might love another band that we know. So why not?
Yeah.
How do you feel about like organisations like This Feeling, for instance? Like they obviously break a lot of new bands. So I seen you have played like This Feeling gig, but I don't think what I've seen you've not played many. But what I've seen with This Feeling is it seems to be it can be the same act for 3 or 4 years, like they're championing the same music.
Well, this is the thing is with This Feeling, Mikey Johns, and I've got great respect for him.
Absolutely.
I mean, the whole This Feeling thing is him putting his heart and soul into bands that he likes and he believes in, and it's a certain style of music that I think resonates with him.
Right.
And so I don't think necessarily what we do is typical of a This Feeling gig. But that doesn't mean that that's bad, what he does.
No, I mean, I totally commend him.
Yeah.
I'm going to have him on at
Yeah.
some point in the later on in the year for their anniversary celebrations. But I just, when you were talking about kind of promoters and that, it'd be nice to kind of hear your
No, I mean, what
Oh,
This Feeling
he's
does is great, right? They put on a load of showcases and they allow bands to have opportunities to play.
But they also stick behind bands as
Yeah,
well. Like, it's
that's
not
the
like
thing.
this is a one-off gig. This is
They'll-
we're going to take you here,
Yeah.
take you here, take you here, take you
Yeah.
here. And that's what bands need to get ahead and get a bit of
And-
exposure. Is like consistency, if that makes sense.
They'll get behind certain bands that and there's a certain style of music that This Feeling is kind of synonymous with, I think. And they'll get behind that, but they absolutely support those bands and they'll help
100%.
not just give them gigs, but they help develop their profile. They'll give them, media, PR support, whatever.
Get them on at festivals.
They'll get them on a
There's
festival.
things
They'll
that, like-
use their connections and they'll help develop those bands. And whether you like those bands or not, that's up to you. But they have a set, same as like with my festival, whatever. There's music that I'll book and there's music that I won't, and it's got to be about what you feel passionate about.
Yeah. If you don't believe in it, you're not going to put your heart and soul into it if you don't believe what you're selling.
And look, he built this up from nothing as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember I think when I was living in Hackney, they were putting on nights in Hackney, and now they're like, what? They've got stages at Reading and Leeds.
Yep, they curate.
Like, let's be real, that's not a small feat. Like, they've grafted to get to that stage, and they've brought bands up with them as well. So, like, I would say, fair enough. If there were more promoters like that in this world, happy days.
If you want to talk about support for women in music, perhaps that needs to be a stronger thread within This Feeling as a commitment to diversification. Then yes, I do think they need to look at that. But because there are bands that fit within that kind of genre and style that they support, but ultimately it's still someone who's independent and doing this on their own. They're not like a big entity like Live Nation that has huge money behind them that could support.
Has more of a moral reason.
So yeah, it's not even about morals, but it's just like, let's not pick on the smaller promoters here on that. It's I think what Mikey's doing is absolutely incredible, and the bands that he's you can follow through. Bands that he's supported, and it's been a massive success, and there needs to be more promoters that follow that model, that understand the ecosystem and you don't put one, pick some bands and develop them and take them on tour and invest in them and take it in that direction.
I did see one just the other day. Actually, I was looking. There was I don't know if it's a duo, a girl duo, Dirty Blonde, and they've been playing some.
Oh
They
yeah,
look really good.
they're
Right,
good.
right.
They're very good. They're very
Yeah.
good.
But I mean, what I see a lot just now with like females that I've been looking at, most of them are kind of singer songwriters. If you look at Rhiannon Downey, Megan Wynn, there's another young Scottish lassie, Robin Ashcroft, that's coming up. So there's plenty of them. So to see like a girl, like a full fronted girl band like yourselves is refreshing.
But
I'm going to touch on the band,
Yeah.
but obviously before that, I was just listening to a podcast earlier the day with Steve Lamacq. I don't know if you've heard. He's got a new podcast called the Price of Music, and his latest episode. I think there's only 2 or 3 episodes out, but it's where a female that fronts what is it, Women in Control, I think it's called, some musical scheme anyway. But that's a really good listening.
Yeah.
I'll try and have a look for it and then bring it
Sure.
up later in the podcast. Anyway, back to yourselves. Obviously, you mentioned you had a band before. So how did this band come into Bugeye?
Well, me and Paula have been in bands since, gosh, it feels like the dawn of time.
Mhm.
But Bugeye, like the reinvention of what we were doing musically, came into fruition in 2018, and it was kind of like we'd spent years working on various projects and writing, and we kind of solidified in our minds the type of music that we wanted to create and what we wanted to make Bugeye be, which was like not just a stereotypical band of, oh, you got these, like a collaborative project that was like an arts project, but also about like music community. So anything that we do, we feed back into community. So if we've got good contacts, we'll share those contacts. We will support other bands. So across our social channels, we don't just talk about us, we talk about other bands. But it's about the live music scene, music that we love, and the bands that we discover that are so inspirational that we think everyone should hear about. So we wanted to do something, as I said, that was beyond just being a band that was about, yes, it is a band, but it's more than that. Which I think if more bands had that focus, the grassroots scene would be, and a lot of bands, we found a lot of like-minded bands and have done some fantastic things because of that. But that's what I think the grass music needs to be. The grass music scene is more collaborative rather than being a silo, and that's what we didn't want our next music project to be, and which it hasn't. Which is why it's been so much more fun.
Yeah, and in terms of like the music, I think we wanted it to be fun, and we wanted it to be able to kind of evolve. Like, maybe what we wrote a year ago isn't really what we want to be writing now. So I think for both of us, it's quite important to keep things moving, keep things fresh,
it's very organic.
Ideas. Like we'd written synth parts and kind of put them into tracks, but never really worked with a synth player. And that's so definitely elevated what we're doing, in my opinion, anyway. And then, like working with different, maybe they're not always permanent members of the bands, but, people like that can bring a new idea to the table. Like we've got someone working as a second guitarist with us now at the moment on some tracks that we're working on. And we've never had that. And I think that's quite
been brilliant.
Yeah.
So who's in the band at the moment? Because for going through your Instagram, as far as I'm aware, it was used to, and was it Jack on drums?
No. So basically, Jack, when we first decided on this project, so this is way back in 2018. Jack was and is still a dear friend of ours.
So he left.
We worked in our first ever band at college, I think, which was called Strange Ways, which was and spelt with hideous name. But yeah, so Jack's always been someone who has worked with us on and off, but could never ever be in a band full time. He's got like
Many things going on.
many things going on with kids.
Right.
And we decided we actually wanted to be in a band properly, and then decided to get some other writers on board, or like session players and people like that, and trying to explore what we could do with Bugeye. So that's what we've done over the years, and I think right now we've landed in a place where we've got a permanent set of writers. Would you say that permanent set of writers? I think like Anastasia, who's our drummer right now, we've worked on and off with her for a long time. And when we talked about Bugeye, which was us, me and Paula, we actually just want it to be now a set of writers. So it was like collecting who those are, and like Kat, who is has been a synth player as a session player for a while, like she's joined permanently, Anastasia's joined permanently, and then we thought we want a second guitarist in the mix, so we've now got Lex on board. So
but look, it has to be fun, right? So if any one person who's kind of within this sort of circle of people we're working with isn't really enjoying it, or they've other projects on the go, it shouldn't be a labor of love, right? Music's meant to be there to be enjoyed. So if you're not enjoying it, or it's not your vibe at the moment, that's totally cool. Like, go work on something else. You want to come back in 6 months, work on a couple of tracks with us, fine. Like,
essentially me and Paula are like, we're like hippies, right? Where it's like, we're always together. People want to come and go and stuff. That's absolutely fine. Band members come and go, and it's one of those things where it's like people's priorities change. But how we've always dealt with it is that we want to write, and this is sort of vibe. And if you want to come on board and write with us long term, short term, we're open to that. And that's the way that Bugeye has kind of always worked. So
it kind of works for us. It's like, look, let's be real. None of us is making our millions from it. So if you want to come and enjoy it, come and enjoy it. If it's not your cup of tea, or it's not for you, or you've got other things going on, then do it. Like, but you've got to be happy in what you're doing, and music should make you happy.
So in terms of writing then, so when you're bringing all these other writers on board, how does that work then when you're working on a new song? Like, because at some point somebody has to take the lead.
Yeah, well, you should probably know that. That's what we've been doing tonight.
So normally how we write is I don't sleep very much, so I end up writing throughout the night, and I'll have like synth ideas, drum ideas, bass, and I'll construct a song, but with the knowledge that this is like a basic set. It's got a general vibe. It needs to be a fast song, or it's like a disco based song or something. But then everyone else is going to feed in and change those parts. I'm not someone that can just sit and play an acoustic guitar and go, I've written a song, and just have an acoustic guitar. Like I start with drum beat, then I add bass, and then I just kind of create from there. But then what I'll do is share that with the people that we're working with, and then they basically delete what I've written and rewrite their parts. Based on that,
you do need to have a starting point, right?
But that is a starting point. That I'm a songwriter, but I know that I don't want to be a solo artist. But it's like I need to have a vibe to be able to get into like guitar and vocals, and then everyone else will kind of change. Like drums can dramatically change and all of that, and we kind of rebuild the song from there. But we have a starting point.
Right.
And the way that we work with Bugeye is that anyone that writes for us, it's like equal shares on royalties and stuff like that. We're not precious of this stuff. It's like a beautiful collaboration of minds, and everyone impacts the way a song ends up being. So it's a really nice way of working.
Like ways of working, I'd say we kind of get into the studio, get a good drum beat going, get that recorded down, and then start to work on individual parts and rebuild the track. So there's no point, like I find it really hard in a rehearsal room to focus on what everyone else is playing if I'm working on a new track, because I'm so concentrating on the part that I'm trying to write, or I'm trying to play, or I am not trying to get wrong, that it's a lot easier for us to come, like as we did tonight, chuck everything into Logic and then start to rework the track from there. So we've all got parts more or less written, whether it's a finished part or not such a drama right now, but just a vague idea or a pretty solid idea of what's going on. And then sort of reconstruct the track piece by piece, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
you want a double chorus. Does that middle eight need to happen there?
Exactly. So we restructure songs and things like that. Like, so this evening, Paula came over and pretty much pressed delete on the baseline free something amazing.
For 2 songs.
but that's the
of
thing.
it,
That's
right?
the point
That's
of
the
it.
point of working together.
Yeah, exactly.
How much work does Paul Tippler do then? Because I see you've worked with him, and was there a reason you chose to work with him? Obviously, I see he's worked with Elastica, so was that a conscious choice to go with him?
Well, I met Paul. Well, we met Paul actually many years ago, in a different band, and we really enjoyed the way that he works, and we've actually become friends over time. But to the point that, like, I'll send him tracks and he'll go, Angela, what are you doing? That instrumental is so long and rambling. Like, just like cut it. Like, he doesn't want to squash us as like musicians and writers, but he'll help direct things in the sense of, I think you can quite often get obsessed with writing a part, or he's a great feedback mechanism in the sense of, Angela, that chorus isn't really going somewhere, just like rewrite it. So and it's good to have that pair of ears out, and that's exactly what a producer does, by the way, for anyone that's listening. A good producer, otherwise they're just an engineer that's just recording your songs and not really impacting them. This is someone who has vast experience of songs that have charted and expertise in songwriting. So to have him critique what we're doing and give us direction before we go into a studio is a great thing. And he makes me think all the time, like, what are you doing in that part? It's like rambling.
That's
like
exactly what
I get the vibe you're going for, but rethink. I'm not sure what you need to rethink, but it's not quite gelling, and I think you'll get it if you listen to it in a different view. And so he's almost like the I have to say sixth member of Bugeye in that sense, that he totally understands songwriting, can help direct us, which is what a producer does. But equally, he listens to our ideas and we work together. So it's not like a complete separate sense of a feedback chain. Like, I'll talk about vocals need to be big in this bit, and we want to explore these type of effects. How do we do that? How do we evolve that part? So it's a complete collaboration.
I think the biggest part of what you said is that he critiques what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like he hears the track before we even set one foot in the studio or set a drum kit up. He wants to listen to the track and talk about it and think about, okay, consider 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we'll have a go at it in the studio. Maybe we cut this chorus, maybe we do whatever we're going to do. But he wants to be involved. He wants the song to sound as good as it can. And I don't know about you, I just get the sense from him that he doesn't want to put his name to something unless it's as good as it can be.
He really cares, and
that really makes a big difference to me. Like, for me personally, I'm like, you know what, fair dues. And that's just like knock it out.
This is what makes him a really good producer, because, and I won't name names, but a lot of the time bands get sucked into going into a recording studio with a producer, like a big name producer. Said producer hasn't heard this song before they're going to studio. They've only paid for like 2 days,
and also
that person
also hasn't heard about the reference points behind that song, which is also quite important. So
what that person is going to do is record it in the most basic sense, and they'll make it sound good, but they haven't actually done a producer's job of that. And so this is the difference of working with someone like Paul, who genuinely invests his time and energy into making a record be as good as it can be for everyone involved.
He's also that's
great knowledge of all calves.
Yeah, I mean, when you speak to, like, I've spoke to a lot of different musicians over the podcast, and that's the kind of vibe you get. If you work with a good producer understands the band, they take the time to kind of, as you say, be part of the band. That's the only way it's going to evolve. And a proper
Also,
sounding album.
but that's always how it traditionally was, and I don't know where along the lines that it got blurred. I think it's because there were loads of like cheap studios with people that were trying to hone their skills and
Mm-hmm.
not really producing stuff. But that when you go into a studio, it should be with a producer, whether that's someone who's just literally graduated or not. They should actually take the time to care and listen to music and critique and have ideas, because otherwise you're just going into a studio and recording something that you do live but in a more slightly polished way, but it's not necessarily done with a producer, but yet that person will still say they produced it, even though they didn't change anything. They just recorded your band. It's bizarre how people get away with doing that, to be honest.
I'm really enjoying this conversation, but what I do usually with bands that I'm maybe not as familiar with is I'll just go to their Instagram, look what they've done every year and talk about that.
Yeah.
But we're kind of just jumping about, which I really like. Gig wise, like again for your Instagram, looking at your Instagram, so you were mainly kind of south, like London and down.
Yeah.
And as you get bigger, you've toured extensively up and down the country. So how does that work? How much would you put that down to like your booking agents is getting you these?
Well, I mean, to be honest, it was a case of you have to like earn your dibs to get a booking agent, and that's through doing releases, getting reviews, booking gigs yourself, making connections with other bands and playing with bands in other towns and putting on your own shows.
Mm-hmm.
We got a booking agent, which is now makes that so much easier, because it's like, we want to do a tour and you can sort that out. But before that, we used to just like make connections with bands and venues and try and put our own nights and things like this. But now we do have a booking agent that does that for us. But what I would say
That's
to bands,
not to say that we don't do some of that ourselves as well still, but it like to string together a tour of like dates like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, in a geographical area where it makes sense, is really hard to do as individuals or as an individual band, I would say.
But what I would say as a band is that please don't ever get disillusioned with the fact that, you need a booking agent or you need a manager, whether it's like you can do, I know so many bands, and like we did before we got our booking agent, we did this all ourselves, and you have to be proactive. And even when you do have like an agent on board, you should still always be looking
in touch with those other bands. Like they are such the way forward.
You always still need to be looking at opportunities and trying to push your band forward. No one is going to push you more than yourself, really. Mm-hmm. You are your own like manager of your destiny. I know that sounds really tacky, but like, even if you have a manager, they report to you. You don't report to them. You want to push your band forward. You need to stay on top of everything that's happening. And if you see an opportunity, still go for it and look for those opportunities. And then if you get a bite on that lead, you can pass it to your agent. Exactly. But don't ever get like
complacent. I think
complacent. Yeah.
Well, this is all really good advice. I'm going to see a band, a wee boy that I work with, and I'm going to see, he's just started a band. Going to see them 2 weeks' time with a view to managing them. So all this sort of stuff is really good.
Share the details, check it out.
Well, exactly. Share their details, but also just make them realise they're going to have to play a lot of stuff for free. They're going to have to
a lot of gigs.
They're going to have to do their shit on Facebook and all the social media channels. Make friends with bands, tag them. Don't be a silo, because it's like the worst thing you can do as a band is only talk about yourself. Have you ever been to a dinner party where someone only talks about themselves? They're fucking irritating. It's the same on social media. Be collaborative, support other people, and it will come back to you. But do it genuinely. Like, don't do it just for those reasons. But it is just like, this is an industry of collaboration, and let's not ever forget that. we all help each other out, and through that we all
And
get a
everyone
step
started
forward.
somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So obviously you touched on like social media. They need to be on top of their social media. Looking at your, as I say, I've touched on it many times throughout the interview. Your Instagram, it gave me a headache. See all the colours, man. It's so colourful, and there's so much pictures of booze. It kind of, I was like, I didn't know if I had a hangover or not. But you post
Yeah.
so much on Instagram. So how key would you say that is your social media, the band?
So social media is really important, just because it's your only like
PR.
voice
Yeah,
out
it's your
there. Like you
PR.
can't afford PR,
It's
and
the-
even if you can,
it's the PR you can control, right?
it's PR you can control, but
and
also
it's the one that you can keep going constantly. Like no one at our level can afford to pay for PR 24/7. It's just absolutely never going to happen.
But
That would be like paying my rent.
but
twice.
even the likes of like Taylor Swift, it's not about PR. It's about connecting
in
with
a genuine
people,
way as well.
having content and a way to talk directly to fans and to be real and share content. And the more you do it, the more the algorithms kick in. And even I need to get better at this. Like we have moments of like being really prolific
Yeah.
on social media, and we see that as in suddenly, oh gosh, we're selling stuff on Bandcamp. We didn't even talk about Bandcamp, but we've just like been posting loads and talking about other bands and sharing content.
And the less cringe it becomes, because it is cringe, let's be honest. But the more you do it, the less cringe it becomes.
Yeah, exactly.
And
but
you start to realize, I think we've realized as well that people like to see real life.
It's your shop window.
Things.
Essentially, as I talk about social media, it's your shop window, right? If you only ever post
Good
on
analogy.
if you only ever post on it once a week, your shop window is going to be on your local high street. If you post on it every day, your high street is so much bigger because the algorithm picks it up. I know that sounds really shit and
basic.
Yeah.
But it's the truth of it. And it's like if you're a band that is trying to make it, the only way you're getting exposure is, all right, you might get a spot play on Six Music, one play, right? One play, or on Radio X. Again, one play that some people may hear it and they might go, I like that song, but I can't remember the band name. But if you're tagging indie music, if you're tagging Radio X and you're posting exciting content like live photos, rehearsal stuff, reviews, and you're keeping out there, the momentum starts to pick up. And that's the truth of it. And it's rubbish because I hate doing it, but unfortunately it's the way of the world. But also a good thing is that didn't exist in the 90s. So the bands we were in, shit, everyone talks about that going, oh, it was great back then. No, it actually wasn't. At least now we can get out there. And if we didn't have a record label, we could release our own music. We couldn't do that back then. So let's stop whinging about technology and actually let's embrace it and realise that there's great opportunity, and you can moan about it and hate it. But yeah, like you say, it's here to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I've struggled with social media. I've struggled to kind of post all my stuff for the podcast.
Get a student to help you.
That's what my pal for work recommended that. He says that I should do that. So I have been looking into it. But after looking at your Instagram, I was just going to get in touch with you and see if you could do it. But if you hate it as much as you say you do, then
we don't hate it. It's
well,
just
I say that in my other life.
You're
I totally do social media marketing for people. So
I
find it easy.
What my partner does for a job as well.
I find it easy for everyone else, but when it's me talking about me, it's
human nature, isn't it? Like if you need to say like 20 good things, if you need to say 20 good things about me, you'd find it really easy. To say 20 good things about yourself is really hard, right?
Well, exactly.
It's like holding the mirror up to yourself and being like, I have to be the best person out there. My life's so great. And you're like, actually, I'm having a cup of tea on a Monday night.
Obviously, like back to the touring, like looking at some of the support gigs you've had. Obviously, we spoke off mic about the Blue Tones, but as well as that, you've supported Biz a couple of times now.
And Drew the Gun, which was a great tour for us to jump on, which was really, really a lovely tour to be involved in. huge fan of Louisa, who is the person behind She Drew the Gun. So to be invited on that tour, which was quite a big tour, was a really special time for us.
Yeah, they were all fun though.
And also backstage of one of those dates was when we found out that we got a record deal. It was like standing in a pissy alley and getting a message from this label saying, yeah, we've heard the album, we totally want to sign you. So that'll always be a really special one for me.
Yeah. But all of them actually, like I love going on tour.
Yeah.
As well as that, then obviously Sleeper, Republica. I don't know, did that gig happen? Republica.
The Republica thing cancelled because I think, was that still part of lockdown? Or was it the venue wasn't quite open still?
I can't quite remember. No idea. It was definitely around like the end of COVID. I think it might have been building regulations or something.
Yeah.
But no, sadly not, because that would have been a blast.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at the bands, like a lot of these bands are were massive at the height of Britpop. So obviously we use growing up probably as fans of them. How is it then to kind of share on a stage?
Well, definitely. Like I was saying, like with the Blue Tones, I remember hearing Slight Return and stuff, you know, bands that I'm like, even you know, Billy Lunn from the Subways, who we're going to be playing with in April. You know, these are that's not a 90s band, but these are people that were like our absolute heroes. And we've gone from being a band that listened to those bands on the radio to being people that know these people in bands through various things that we do in music to actually sharing stages with them, which is a dream come true, right? It's absolutely incredible.
But don't you think as well, like if you told your 16-year-old self that you'd be doing this, you'd be like, shut up.
I know, yeah, totally.
As if.
That's
how I set up the podcast, just to kind of interview all these. Like I spoke to last week, I spoke to Sam Herlihy for Hope of the States on the Saturday, and then I spoke to John Power on the Monday.
Oh wow! Okay.
So like just kind of speaking to people like that, and it's amazing. You wouldn't get a chance to do it. But obviously, like Sleeper obviously stuck out because like listening to your music, I kind of get that vibe for some of the tracks. You got kind of that sound.
Yeah, I think not so much. I mean, the thing is, I loved Sleeper, like listening to back in the day, but I wouldn't say there's so much of an influence. I'd say more Blondie, which I know Blondie was an influence for Sleeper, so maybe that feeds into that. But
look, to be honest, I think like Sleep have well-written songs. I will happily take that as a reference.
I don't know if it's maybe a more Britpop sound entirely, because like as well as Sleeper, I kind of get Elastica, obviously Blah, and then your late song, like your newest song. I don't know if it's just the lyrics at the start, but it sounds a bit like the Vaccines, which is a
wow, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, I would say definitely because of like the whole, you know, like we were kids in the 90s, you know, that's always going to stick with me. I think one of the first songs I learned to play was a Nirvana song, which was about a girl, and then, you know, being at college and doing covers of 90s songs from Oasis, Elastica, and all of that stuff feeds into that, because that's the first things you learn to write and sing, and whether the things that influence you that you're listening to at that moment in time. And I think that will always stick with me. Yeah. But I would say our probably our biggest influences definitely has been Blondie, Pixies, I would say.
On a personal level, yes. Like I really respect Kim Deal. I think she's I think she's great. Like I think she's so underrated in that band. It's insane.
I don't know that she is underrated in that band. I think everyone thinks she's fundamental, to be honest.
Queen is
right. Yeah. But David Bowie, Blondie and the Pixies for me. And disco music, a lot of disco music, which people find bizarre, but do love a bit of disco.
because it's amazing. It's feel good, right? And what should music make you do? Feel good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, your music kind of it's upbeat. It makes you smile and it makes you want to move. That's what I've got
thank you.
for it.
Cool, because that's like all goals covered.
That's ticked all the boxes. That's exactly what we wanted.
So, the album Ready Steady Bang,
Mhm.
released in 2020, as we said, recorded with Paul Tickler, and then released the following year a remix album.
Yeah, we did a remix album. So I mean, you know, the first album was a little bit of a homage to the 90s with a whole bunch of disco thrown into the mix, to
Mhm.
be honest. So you will hear elements of like Blur, Elastica, and then some other random, Beats International even, which is 90s. Was it 90s? Was that 80s? That'd be good to me. Anyway, yeah, a whole bunch of influences on that album. But yeah, we put out like a post saying, does anyone want to remix a track from the album? And it turned out that there was so much interest. It was like, we'll do a remix album. So we had so many people. So we had like Feral 5 involved. We also had someone who'd done like a bunch of whole X Factor stuff. Like the list of people involved in that remix album was pretty quite
Actually blew me away, like how many people get involved. And more to the point, what blew me away even more was what they did with like the stem files and how they reimagined the tracks. And some of them, I was like, why didn't we think of doing something like that?
Intro like that?
Awesome. Like really, but really, really interesting to hear how someone can take like the basics of a song and just, so it sounds so cliche after like X Factor and the rest of it, but make it their own and make it something completely different. And not even like, I mean, obviously it references the song that we wrote because the stem files came from what we wrote, but it was so far over there from where it started that I was just like, wow, this is bloody brilliant.
And that's how we got like Robin involved for a while, doing some stuff with Bugeye. She did a remix of Don't Stop, and she did this whole type like kind of rave thing, and we thought that this would be amazing.
Yeah, we did
to be able to do this live, to be able to do like this big epic rave moment at the end of a song. So Robin joined us on tour for a while. So this is again what we're saying is in Bugeye being a collaboration and not always being about permanent members. It's like, let's do this, because that was interesting for her, because she does dance music. Does she want to join Bugeye full time permanently? No, she doesn't. But will she come on tour with us and do some writing with us on some of these things? Absolutely. And that was absolutely incredible. I still love that ending of Don't Stop, and you will never hear that on the record. But if you'd seen us live at that point, it's an epic long, like I think that song went on for like almost like 10 minutes at the end. Huge ending. It was amazing.
So was like that was at least I'm trying to get my I mean I've been doing this podcast for 3 or 4 years, but I still forget when lockdown was because it seems that long and you try and blank it out. But would that have been run about then? And
yeah, it's the middle of lockdown.
No, Robin coming on tour was 2021.
No, but the album coming out was July.
Yeah, 2020. Actually, we didn't tour the album until 2022.
You know, we didn't tour the album for like a year after its release.
Yeah.
Almost 2 years after.
Kind of like was also it was kind of like, look, we did this album, we didn't get to do much with it. It was kind of another reason for doing a remix album as well. It's like, let's do something a little bit happy and joyful, and let's just celebrate that we did something.
Yeah, because the only thing we could do during lockdown, so our album came out at the height of the shitstorm, which is not ideal. We had a tour, but that had to be cancelled because no venues were open. And so we basically did a weekly podcast, didn't we?
Yeah.
But it was to promote other bands who were also trying to like put music out at that time.
And in fairness, I think it also kept us sane and like kept us together as a unit for a little while. Like the people that we were working with, we all did a podcast together. It was fun. It was chatty. it wasn't serious. It wasn't well researched, but it was just us like being as if we
It was
were
like-
meeting up together to kind of discuss how we're going to progress with this tour, or how we're going to play these gigs, or what we need to rehearse.
It was like mates down the pub talking
Yeah.
about random stories in music, like Joni Mitchell living in a cave, and then intertwined with bands that were trying to release music at that time. So it was a platform to try and help other artists. And the great thing about the podcast was that it actually got picked up by press, and like John Kennedy cited it as one of his top 5 podcasts to listen to. And you know, we had loads of great guests come on board as well. So we had like Joe Caulfield, who's like comedian. We had Lucy O'Brien, who wrote She Bop. We had Cassie from Getting Her Ears, not Getting Her Ears, Cassie from Loud Women, and Mari from Getting Her Ears, sorry. Kathy St. Luce from the Zine. We had God Is in the TV. We had all these people that came onto this podcast, all with an equal love of wanting to kind of keep the kind of grassroots music scene going, even though we couldn't do gigs anymore. So it was a really lovely thing to do.
I seen one with Lily Allen. Was she a guest, or was that just you speaking about her?
I think we would just, I would love to have had her on there.
I was looking.
I was always going, yeah, Lily, listen to our podcast. But no, we talked about her. We talked about loads of stories about various people and stuff. But it was great because there were people that were having like huge books coming out. So there was one that was what was it called? Is it the 30-year plan? The therapy autobiography. And that was by Simon Young, and he came on and spoke about his book.
We had Laura G. Marsh, the Goody Stratus.
Oh yeah,
I've had her as well. She's really good.
Yeah, so we had so many people basically
really interesting
people. because no one had anything to do, so we really lucked out on having guests. But yeah, it was great to do a weekly podcast, but it wasn't something that we could sustain once we came out of lockdown, and then it was like, well, we need to write some music now and actually tour.
Let's be real.
That's a good thing as well.
So credit to you for doing it. Like, I understand how much work goes into doing that. I mean, and I didn't even edit it, you did.
As a lot of work, and the thing with, like, obviously, like me discovering your podcast last week, I'm dying to go and listen to it, but I've got about 50 other podcasts that I listen to as well. So like I work night shift and I go to work and I just spend like 7 hours ignoring everything, listening to podcasts. So at some point in the next couple of months, I'm going to try and get through your 50 odd episodes as well.
Yeah, you've got a year's worth of episodes, all like an hour, and it's like being down the pub with people slowly getting drunk. That's what I would or not slowly getting drunk within an hour, but like getting drunk quite quickly. Yeah, so it's a drunken ramble. It's ridiculous. It's about having fun. It's not like a muso podcast.
No, you're not going to find
We can cover the story about how, you know, people believe that Avril Lavigne is a clone. Like, is that a real thing? Yes, it is. People actually believe Avril Lavigne is a clone, and we dig into that. Don't you remember all of the things of did you not listen? You weren't on that podcast. That was me and Kerry. You didn't even listen to it, did you? Bizarre world of how people believe these things, but people do believe Avril Lavigne
only in America
died, and her stand-in Melissa is actually who Avril Lavigne is.
Wow!
Listen to the show and you'll hear all about it.
I'm going to tag that in the show notes. That'll be there for everybody as well. The latest song, as I said, sounds similar to the vaccines in some aspects, dancing out in the dark.
Yeah.
So what's coming next? What have you got coming up? Both release wise.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of an exclusive. Our next single will be called Master Manipulator. And then we've got so much stuff that's going to be coming out this year, but Master Manipulator will be part of an EP that will be coming out in June. But we've got 2 singles from that EP that will be coming out before the actual EP comes out, and then an album the back end of the year. But we've got a tour that we're about to announce. We were supposed to announce it this week, but we had delays, so it'll be announced next week. But yeah, we've got a string of dates from March, April, and May, and then more coming over the summer. So it's going to be a really busy year for us, but a good year. Lots of recording, loads of writing that we've been doing that finally will be out there.
And no asking every day to the tour or anything like that, but have we got any Scottish shows?
We're hoping to add some Scottish dates in because everyone keeps asking, so we have to come to.
Yeah,
I think there's Glasgow.
Yeah, Glasgow's the best for me.
That's tentative at the moment.
Do you recommend planning Glasgow?
Probably. I mean, I've seen Trampoline and the garage, the attic.
Okay.
That's good. Broadcast, maybe that's a good venue as well.
We can't say too much. Yeah,
and
essentially,
who would you say are your top 3 Glaswegian bands?
Mogwai would have to be there.
Definitely.
Yeah, stop it. As if we're going to play with him.
What are we talking about currently?
Yeah, go on. Oh no, historically or currently?
I don't know so much Glasgow bands, but Scottish bands that would play in Glasgow. I've had a boy in the podcast, Dove, who's really good. I've seen him supporting the Paddingtons in broadcast last year. So that he would be really good, his band. I'm trying to think Johnny Skinner, who's supported Las Vegas. He'd be really good as well. I'm always been championing him. And
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, if you want to get Las Vegas on board.
That would be hilarious. That
sounds
would be
like you're
also
fishing,
very
Paula.
optimistic. I am.
Like you're fishing for bands.
Of course I am.
Yeah, I mean, you put me in the spot. It's usually me asking questions.
Sorry, that's a bit unfair.
But
I think it's more. I think we're gonna be coming to Scotland. We're more in the mind of who should join us on support is what we're more looking at, really.
I'll have a look. I'll get back to you via email for
Please do.
Any word of mouth is really helpful for us because we're obviously like way down here.
Yeah, no, because we're coming to Scotland, and it's just I just want to make sure that we're giving good bands opportunities with us in support slots.
Well, I know one band, obviously this band that I'm going to be managing, so you'll have them one definitely.
Perfect.
Yeah. What else have we got? I think that's us really. Then, so you're touring. You've got this EP coming out in the summer.
Yeah.
So that's about it. But it's been really nice to speak to you tonight.
Very lovely to speak to you.
Last bit of the podcast, obviously, Time for Heroes. I asked my guests a bit.
Time for Heroes.
4 heroes to come for dinner. Why they're your heroes and what would you cook them? And as I say 4 heroes, but I'm not really limiting it to 4. I had Gemma Clark on for Baby Shambles a couple of years back, and I think she ended up picking about 15 guests. So just pick your heroes.
15 guests at my dinner.
Well, no, I mean cooking wise, I think I'd struggle. So for me, I've got 2. No, I've got 3 actually. I've got Joni Mitchell. And one of the things I thought was, do they have to be dead or can they still be alive?
No, dead or alive.
The dead ones.
They can be dead or alive, in my mind. Joni Mitchell, because I think she's had an absolute wild life, and from doing so much research about, like, she's just controversial actually in some ways. But I would really like to have a chat with her and understand more about her time of living in a cave in a hippie commune in Corfu, because which some of the songs from the album Blue were written about that time, and I hadn't realised that until we did the podcast, and I did research about that, and I went to Matala and visited those caves. So I'd really love to chat to her about that. Debbie Harry, because she's absolutely my hero. I don't think I'd actually say much to her. I'd probably just sit there and go, I love you, and then just stare at her and she'd leave because she'd think I was weird. And David Bowie, who anyone who knows me knows that he is like, I'm just the total fangirl here, and I absolutely adore David Bowie. I just absolutely worship everything that he has ever written. I think he's the most incredible artist, but just wanting to dig more into certain writing phases, especially in the 80s, and how he constructed those songs. But more so, just to chat to him about bloody Bromley, which I live up the road from, and just some of those haunts and that everyone tries to attach his name to, and going, is that true? Is that not true? Yeah,
Right.
and just,
So is Bromley next to Croydon? Is it?
it is. And also, he went to Croydon School of Art, but he went for one day and walked out and never came back. And I'd kind of like to ask him why that was, because Jamie Reid and Malcolm McLaren were the Sex Pistols. So Jamie Reid did the Sex Pistols covers, like the artwork, and Malcolm McLaren managed the Sex Pistols, and they together came up with a lot of people don't realise about Sex Pistols, the manufacturing of what the Sex Pistols would be, and found a band to bring that into. And so it's like this rebellious college at this time. Why did you not want to be part of that, David Bowie? Like, yeah, I'd like to ask him about that.
That'd be interesting. I've been to Croydon once.
Yeah.
My wife, she's for Crawley. But at the time when I met her, she stayed in Wallington.
Yeah.
So
Off topic. Is she a Crawley Town? Off topic, but is she a Crawley Town supporter?
She doesn't really like football, but I've been to Crawley Town a couple of times, but I don't like them. I go to see the non-league team.
Their stadium's good for the level they play at, though.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
I digress. Let's go back.
So Croydon, when I think it was wedding dress shop. My son, we were getting married, and she took her bridesmaids to get bridesmaids dresses at the Debenhams in Croydon, and I think I had to go to pay for it or whatever. But it was like height of the summer. It was like a really hot day, and I'd never been to Croydon before. And we came out of Debenhams, and it was like this like black, what I thought was rain, and it was flying ants, which I'd never.
Well, I don't think there's a flying ant problem in Croydon. I think it was that day, but maybe
ant day every year.
There is flying ant day every year.
Is there? Well, I was there for flying ant day, and it was like, I would never go back to Croydon after that. I felt as if I was in a February.
Bigger midges, don't worry about it.
It was horrible. They were oily flare. They were like in my shoes and all that. It was horrible.
I'm sorry, that's your lasting impression.
In London, well, probably the south actually. Yeah, there seems to be not just a day, it's like a week where suddenly flying ants are everywhere. They hatch, they're everywhere, and it just happens within like a day or two, or within the space of a week, and then it's gone. But that's not like a Croydon specific thing.
Right. It's just because it's only happened to me in Croydon, and I go down every summer. I'm down south every summer, and it's never happened since. So,
well,
I fear of Croydon for that.
What a memory!
What a memory!
Aye, so that's my Croydon story. I thought I would get that in. I says to my wife that I would get that in.
What a story to have as well.
Yeah. So I'll not be coming to see you in Croydon. I'll wait until you are up.
Fair enough.
Up in Glasgow. I think it'd be far too cold for flying ants up here.
I'll imagine so.
But you've got like, well, I did the West Highland Way, and got attacked by midges.
Yeah.
The point, I ended up buying a whole flipping net for my face.
Yeah. The hang with the midges.
By anything.
You can't see the midges until they've bit you. It's like the flying ants are like they're in your face.
They're huge, right? Yeah.
Aye. Anyway, back to your heroes.
So I picked my three. Who would you have?
For a dinner party. So now you've mentioned dead people, that's kind of got me thinking. I think I'd go for a New York vibe, and I'd probably go for people that stayed in the Chelsea Hotel in the 70s.
Who?
So
You got a
Patti
name?
Smith.
Oh yeah, Patti Smith.
I'd have her. I reckon she's got some towels.
She's still alive though, don't
She is, yeah. Robert Mapplethorpe, he's dead.
Yeah, you said the dead vibe. She ain't
Yeah.
dead.
Who else
Yeah.
stayed there? Jimi Hendrix, Andy Warhol.
Why? Why? Okay, why Patti Smith?
Do you not think to talk about these times would be so interesting?
Yeah, I know,
Like the
but
whole
I'm
idea of
asking you
this,
though,
the
like, why
Chelsea
though?
Hotel, I'm kind of a little bit intrigued by it. It just seems to be this insane place where people could basically stay if they were artistic and trade their art with the owner. Like,
Yeah.
Basquiat gave him paintings in return for his rent in his room. Yes,
Why haven't you done this on a podcast?
because it's a huge amount of research that I can't really go into. Honestly, like, have you read Patti Smith's autobiography?
Yes.
It's so interesting about her time there. It's like she kind of just came in and there's like Robert De Niro having a cup of coffee over there. Or it would either be that or it'd be 1980s New York when Madonna first moved to New York before she got famous. And I would like to speak to her and people
Her
from
younger
that,
self.
her younger self. And she's not dead either. And all the people from that kind of like 80s hip hop disco scene that made that kind of vibe. So I think it's more about the time that I'd be interested in, the actual people.
So just anybody for Chelsea Hotel in the 80s?
In the 70s or the 80s kind of disco hip hop scene, people from that time. And I probably wouldn't even know who half the best people to speak to were. But I reckon those were probably absolute riot times in New York, for it got gentrified. It was all still scuzzy as fuck. And I think that would have been a blast to have lived through that. And I'd love to have dinner with the people that did.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
In New York.
So she's basically going to have a banquet club night and just have all of these people from the 70s and 80s rock up.
You didn't say I had to fund it. And what would I serve? I large
prawn cocktails.
Mate, don't knock it. A prawn cocktail is a beautiful concoction. Like, you get so much shit, a prawn cocktail.
I like a prawn cocktail.
Christmas Day. If there's no prawn cocktail, there's no Christmas Day. I'm so sorry. I went to
What's a prawn cocktail?
standard. That is
a standard thing on Christmas Day.
Mate, I went to my partner's family house for Christmas. They didn't have prawn cocktail. I was like, who doesn't have prawn cocktail on Christmas Day?
I think a lot of people don't have prawn cocktails on Christmas Day.
You weirdos. Anyway, I'd probably serve up a curry because nothing can beat curry.
Curry. So it's not Christmas Day.
Well,
No, it's not anytime.
My
Okay.
dinner party.
Right, okay.
Almighty, ever words.
A prawn cocktail and a
See what I
curry.
have put up with over here.
That's quite a concoction, isn't it? A prawn cocktail and then a curry.
Why not?
Yeah. They're all amazing guests as well. And Joni Mitchell, I think, was picked a couple of episodes ago, and it's the first time. So that's like twice in a matter of weeks. But there's a couple there that haven't been picked before. I think that might be the first time Debbie Harry's been picked.
Really?
Yeah. Obviously, David Bowie. David Bowie is one of my top picks. David Bowie and John Lennon are usually.
He'd never show up because he'd always be invited to another dinner party, right? So I shouldn't have picked him because everyone's invited.
Double booked.
It's like, now I'm already going to 10 this week and I can't even go to all of those. There's only 7 days. But yeah, Debbie Harry, interestingly, I would like to talk to her about her whole because I'm a bit of a true crime. I don't know if fan is the right word. Intrigued on true crime. And she has said that she thought she was almost a Ted Bundy.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah, she was in the car room.
Yeah, but I mean, he is admitted to a lot of things, but he was not operating in New York ever. But that doesn't mean that that's true. No. But yeah, I'd like to
quiz her.
I'd like to chat to her about that because it sounds very disturbing, but also very interesting, but also probably misquoted a lot of the time in places. But that's not all I'd like to talk to her about. She's a legend, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it would be intriguing to speak to her, and that's exactly the reasons why I had that. I was going to bring that up at some,
Yeah,
but it's been a absolute pleasure speaking to you tonight.
thank you.
As
I think
well.
what comes across the most is the passion you've got for music, and as you were saying, you want to help other bands, which I find is commendable above everything else.
Oh, thank you. Well, can we also give a shout out to, because we've got a music festival that
So what's this festival? I actually haven't forgot to ask about.
yeah, so we're putting on a music festival, which we've done in the past. But so Cro Cro Land, which is 13th and 14th of April.
Mhm.
And it's, well, yes, given that it's 13th, 14th, I was about to say it's over 2 days. I've already said that by giving you the dates. But yeah, we've got a whole load of bands, and the whole point is everyone gets paid. It's not about play for free if you're a small band because you're playing with bigger bands. Everyone gets paid. Everyone gets equal PR support and marketing. And bands we've got on the bill are like the Subways, She Drew the Gun, Buzzard, 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 Lines, Berries playing, Noah and the Loners, Fight Milk, Dog Violet, Miss Mohammed, loads of other bands up and coming. And it's not about having a booking agent or having a label or anything like that. It's just if there are bands that we like their music and that we see on their social media channels that they're collaborative, that they actually support the scene, they go and see other bands, not just big bands, but smaller bands, and they're tagging them and sharing other people's content. That's what this is all about. It's about bands that all support bands. So that's what's happening in April. So and we keep the ticket prices low because
Brilliant.
we believe you don't have to
Well,
charge
that's
the
200
earth
quid. Yeah.
to come to a good music festival.
And whereabouts is this?
This is in Croydon, hence no
Oh.
Cro Cro Land. So it's a CR0 postcode. And because it's been used in a lot of Hollywood films as a set, La La Land, Cro Cro Land, hence the name. Yeah, so it's in South Norwood this year at Stanley Arts, and it's only 30 quid for a weekend ticket, and you get to see 40 bands for
That
that.
sounds brilliant. In April time, there shouldn't be any flying ants.
No.
No,
Although maybe next year you can rename it Flying Ant Land Festival.
no, because I won't have the summer for that, so it'd be irritating and off-putting. But no, so I'll keep it as Cro Cro Land. Thanks for the name change suggestion.
I'm here for you.
So how long's this been running? Is this the first year?
No, we did it 2019. We overtook
Pre-pandemic.
pre-pandemic. We overtook a hotel that was earmarked for demolition. It looked a little bit like the Shining Hotel.
That was quite fun then.
And
It had
yeah,
vibes.
we overtook that and created a whole like 3-stage festival vibe thing there. And so we decided to bring it back and do it all again. So yeah, big bands and new emerging bands. And yeah, this is going to be an annual thing.
Brilliant. That sounds amazing.
So if you're in London, come along.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I'll post ticket links. Can you still get tickets in? I take it.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
I'll post
we're
ticket
sold
links in
out.
as well for that.
So yeah, I'll send you a link.
Magic. But absolute pleasure having you on,
Thank you.
and all the
Really nice
best
to chat to
with
you as
everything
well.
coming up.
Really nice evening.
It's been
Brilliant.
lovely.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you. See you later.
Cheers.
I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Time for Heroes podcast. If you would like to get in touch, the best way is on the Facebook page, Time for Heroes podcast, or on Instagram at Time for Heroes podcast, or Twitter at Time for Heroes P1, or drop me an email at timeforheroespod@gmail.com. You'll find Time for Heroes on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Google, and Amazon. Please leave a review where you can, share with others, and more importantly, enjoy.